Come a bit closer. We're gonna do some items for you, some traditional items to welcome you here today. We'll do a toy dance, maybe some stick games. But then we're gonna grab a couple of you guys to come up and do a couple of items with us. One word I need you to learn today is kapai. Can you say kapai?
Kapai.
Kapai is usually accompanied with kapai.
Kapai.
So every time we finish an item, you're more than welcome to do that. Kapai?
Kapai.
Where is everyone from?
Christchurch.
We really need to know that. Sydney?
Germany.
Oh.
Ouch.
Queenstown.
Where?
Melbourne.
Queenstown.
Queenstown. Queenstown. I thought so.
In Singapore, there's a place called Queenstown. I did it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Queenstown.
I actually thought Timaru, but... Well, we're going to start the song up and we'll do some welcome songs, then we'll do a poi dance, and then we'll get you guys up. Come on! Come on!
Come on.
Come on! Oh, you go! Turn up, Coco!
Turn up, Coco, Coco, Tenewe whakanuia, matamatukumiho, nakaya hiko, e whakatu ana.
She's going to teach you the point.
Yay! Come on, ladies. So is there any ladies out there would like to try the point? Bye. Just go in front of little girl. Yeah, stand on the side. Any other ladies? You'd like to try? You sure? You'd like to try? Come on up, ladies. Someone's on me down.
A few more. Any more? One try. One last one try.
E poipa, tamate ki ona tarai.
Which means fly my poi, fly, okay? So the first action you're going to do is just swing your poi. Might want to spread out my leg, that way you're going to cover. Fly. So the first action we're going to do is catch the ball of the poi and place it out in front. Yep. So this is called poi count mode, which means to get ready. The next action we're going to do is dump the ball of the poi, just like this, and swing it up on the inside of the forearm. So it's coming towards you. Kapai. Now we're going to catch the ball on the poi 4 times, repeating after me. Tahi.
Tahi.
Bring your poi up, and up is runga. Poi down, and down is raro. Take a small step back, bring your poi in, and in is raro. Poi out, and out is waho. Now just a quick recap. Tahi. Lua. It's going to go like this. We'll try this all together, okay? So just swing your poi. Yeah. Ready, set, go! Kapai, ladies. So that is just short and simple poi. Now what's going to happen, we're going to perform it to our lovely audience. Kapai, if you seem to forget any of the actions, don't panic. You have me and these beautiful manners to follow. If you still can't follow us, just swing your poi, smile, and just throw your arms. Kapai. Poi count mode. And smile. 4 catches.
I'm going to hand you over to a guy called Tama. Say Tama. That's right there.
Kia ora tama.
Get over here.
Kia ora tama. Hei tamo tūtama nā.
Cowboy, now, men, if it's good enough for our ladies, it's good enough for you. Cowboy, men? Men? Cowboy? Cowboy, so just come up over here, men. Yes, there are plenty of men.
At least 7 men. Hold on.
Cowboy, send Cowboy for volunteering.
Send them, stand
Any other
up here.
volunteers? Oh, would you come and volunteer? Cowboy. Are you part of the... No? That's enough, men. Yes. One hand behind the camera. Yeah, Cowboy. Hand the camera over.
I'm being selected, yeah.
Cowboy. Cowboy, Cowboy, excuse my back, ladies and gentlemen, while our teacher needs to display those cameras up. Cowboy, now men, do we have any idea what we're going to do?
No idea.
No idea. Cowboy, now have we seen the movie Full Monty? Yes. Sadly, we will be not performing the Full Monty. No, we were learning and performing a haka, Cowboy. Haka. This haka made world famous by our mighty All Black national rugby team. Cowboy, believe it or not, has nothing to do with rugby or any kind of sport. It dates back to the 1800s to a chief warrior named Te Rauparaha. It's got a really long story, and I've only got 2 minutes left with you to teach this haka. Cowboy? So there are a few commands to get us started with this haka. Now my first command will be taringa whakarongo, which means open the ears. When I say cowboy, which means to get ready, cowboy, just watching myself in this warrior here for your first action. And it goes something like this. It goes taringa whakarongo, go cowboy, go hey! Cowboy? Now that was just an example of what we would like. Cowboy? So when I say taringa whakarongo, cowboy, we go down into the stance like so. Cowboy, you put it in the stance like so. Yep, you're comfortable. Cowboy, we're gonna go he, open up our eyes as wide as we can. Go he, ah, as far as it can go. Ah, and we're gonna hold that pose for a good 4 long seconds. Cowboy, 4 seconds while we look into your camera. Cowboy, I'll get out of the way of all these cameras. Cowboy, use the picture. So I'll just scoot on over here, cowboy, and I'll just cowboy. Oh, taringa whakarongo. Give your hands a little shake, cowboy. Taringa whakarongo. Cowboy. Hey! And hold that pose for 1, 2, 3, 3.5, 3 3/4, 4. Cowboy, man. Good photos? Cowboy.
You need to do it 2 more times.
Cowboy. Stay down there. Starts like so. There are a few more commands. My next command will be ringa pakia, which is hands slapping your thighs. Cowboy. Next command is koi wai pakahia, stamp the right leg. We all got the same right leg. Cowboy. Now, follow the best as you can, and we're going to pull in our loved one. Cowboy. Have another step. Cowboy. Now let's pull that loved one in just a little closer. Not too close. Cowboy. Now we're going to feed that loved one, and we're going to go and pull on our fishing rope. Keep the leg down. Cowboy. We're going to play that loved one some sweet music and strum out air guitar. My one sounds pretty flat, cowboy. Now here's a tricky one. We're going to point to your left. Your left. Point to your right. Back to the left. Back to the right. Hands in the air. Hands on your hip. You're right, go. Hey! Cowboy. Now, that was just the practice round. We are ready to perform to everybody here. Cowboy, if you have forgotten anything I've taught you, follow myself or the handsome warrior on the side here. Come follow us. Just panic. Cowboy. No, just make it up. Here, follow. Cowboy, just get out of the way. And we are ready to perform, so give them a round of applause. Cowboy, oh my God, come on. Come on. Well done.
Yeah.
Thank you, my friend.
Thank you very much. Where do we apply? We're gonna finish off with a real haka. So we're going to perform a haka for you, and we'd just like to say thank you very much for having us here today. Did you enjoy Pressy Noses with us?
Absolutely.
Cool.
Of course.
We hope that your event and your conference goes well, and we hope you enjoy yourself in our country. Now we're going to finish up by doing a haka. Now a haka can be many things in this world, particularly when we play teams like Australia and other foreign teams. Often used and seen as as a preparation for a game of rugby or sports or whatever. Traditionally, often used to record information, but also a posture dance, or otherwise a celebration or some other reasons. So we're going to do 2 haka, and it wasn't unusual for women to do haka in our culture. They always did haka. And so the woman will lead the first haka, and then men will come through and we'll finish with the last haka. And then at the end of that, we can have a bit of a quick photograph with everybody. Kapai?
Kapai.
There you go.
Howdy!
So Randy, you want to take over here? I can't tell him what
Well,
to
I
do.
think I'm going to hand you over to Ame. Just yeah.
Come and have a photo, everybody. Like a group photo. We'll take with David, do one at a time.
Group shot, come on.
You already got this moving. Once upon a time, it was. Okay, let's get you guys closer. Yeah. Try to close up the gap. Okay.
Yeah, so second row, come forward a little bit.
Yeah. Guys at the back. TV. A little bit. Okay.
Get you guys moving here? Yeah, come on in. Okay. Cool. Okay.
We got cheese spot?
Let me
We
hand
got
it.
cheese spot?
Anybody else?
We have.
First row.
Boxing, I think you're blocking the. Yeah, okay.
And the shop is really
Are we wider?
Yeah. I only take one.
Okay, so everybody at the back, just kind of squeeze your faces in so that we can see you. Yeah, if you can't see us, we probably can't see you on the lens too. Yeah, so it's okay, everybody. Okay, let's do one more. Just look up here. Yeah, 1, 2, 3. All right. One more for our phone. 3, 1, 2. One last one. 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
Yay.
No, thank you.
Excuse me? One of the other journalists.
Basically, I'm the experiential lead for our region, and I would like, on behalf of all the team from Jakarta Land Rover, I'd like to welcome you to Terrace Downs today. A Land Rover is destined for adventure, and I think whether it's little known routes or whether it's epic journeys across historic and iconic landscapes, much like the journey that we are talking about this week, it's always at the heart of the brand. So with that in mind, we have a very amazing experience planned out, a wonderful program lined up for you in this amazing country, which we all hope that you guys will enjoy and are as excited as we all are. So without much further ado, I'd like to introduce Ami. I think many of you have met him earlier today in the afternoon. Ami is our brand director for the APAC region, and he will give his talk. Right? So Ami, please.
So an official welcome from our side. Ladies and gentlemen, it gives me an immense pleasure to welcome all of you at this beautiful place in South Island called Terrace Downs. My name is Amit Indre, and I'm the brand director for Day.1 Land Rover Asia Pacific. We are based out of Singapore. From Singapore, we manage about 16 markets, which is 16 countries, including most of Southeast Asia, also Sri Lanka, Mongolia, and New Zealand. I hope you all have had a good flight and are well rested and are looking forward to your next 3 days of ride experience. The next 3 days of your ride experience is going to be in the world's most capable SUVs, which is Land Rover's Discovery and the Range Rover Sport. So our team here, Josh from Jaguar Land Rover, you have Vienna and Vanessa, along with our professional partner agencies, Park 44, Suntime, and Downforce, have worked tirelessly over the last couple of months to put this event together. There's also a team of professional photographers and videographers who will be on this trip to capture the wonderful memories, and they will be sharing those memories with you. Over the next 3 days, our sole aim is to be able to deliver a Land Rover experience which you will love for the rest of your life. But also need to keep in mind that we need to be really, really safe while looking forward to these experiences. I hope you will enjoy the various other activities along with the drive that has been planned. And to give you more information about this, I'm going to hand over to Josh again, and he will introduce the agencies to you. Thank you and enjoy your evening.
Over the course of this afternoon, as you guys arrive into Terrace Downs, you were greeted by a lovely team of ladies from Sonakai. This team has been working with us over the past, I would say, 4 months, was it? To put this program together. Without much further ado, I'd like to introduce Sonia, who is the boss. Over the next 4 days, if you guys have any issues, any problems, any concerns, please feel free to reach out to any of us from Java Land Rover or the Land Rover team from Sonakai. Okay, so we'll get Sonia to introduce the team.
Thank you, Josh. A very warm welcome also from my side. As Josh said, my name is Sonia. It's been an absolute pleasure planning this trip for you, putting this together. I personally am probably the biggest fan of New Zealand in this world. I used to live here 20 years ago, and I come to New Zealand minimum once a year, and I've done a lot of off-roading in this beautiful part of the world. So the routes that we're going to take you on in the next couple of days are actually not the touristy routes. They're not the ones that you can just go on. So the routes we're taking you on are private properties that we got exclusive access to. These are farmers, station owners, who have basically allowed us to use their land specifically for this beautiful Land Rover experience. So this is something quite unique. Some of these guys own land as big as 3-4 mountain ranges. They don't need us there. But they were so excited about the idea of actually showing a group from across Asia this beautiful part of the country that they said, you know what? We're happy to open our gates for you and welcome you on our land. So I'm very, very happy that we're able to do this. You will experience some beautiful, beautiful moments over the next few days. And as Josh said, we've got a great team here that will help you, that we quickly introduce. So the person who put all this together in terms of the whole plan and execution is Mandy. Then we've got June, Amy, and then one person that I would quickly like to come forward. That's Wahida, our doctor. I promised Wahida that she will just have a paid holiday. She's there if anything goes wrong. If anyone has any concerns, any issues, any medical needs, she's there. But ideally, we don't need her.
Yeah.
So she is hopefully just going to have a blast. She will be with the tour the whole time. But any concerns, even if it's just a headache you have, go and see Wahida. She's happy to help you. She's here for you. Thank you.
I think we have said this countless times. This is the drive experience through amazing South Island. With that in mind, safety is at the top of our priority. And we'd like to introduce the team from Downforce, Rich, who is our lead Land Rover instructor, who will take you through some of the key pointers for you guys to take note of during this trip.
Okay, can everybody hear me? Yep. I'm just going to go without the microphone today. So, welcome on behalf of the driving team. My name is Richard Moore. I'm the Jaguar Land Rover lead instructor for New Zealand. I must say we're very excited about this. We do all sorts of driving events all around the country, from snow, track, road tours, everything. But this is something as a team that we're really excited about. So, while this is a safety briefing, I'm going to try and keep it as exciting as possible. There's some really, really important points that we're going to go through, so we've got to make sure you're all clear and understand those. Before we do that, we've got a fantastic team of instructors who's going to be working with you for the rest of the tour. So you're going to get to know them very, very well. Before that, I'll just ask them all to give you a little bit of an introduction about themselves, about their history in motorsport, as well as their history in driving off-road.
Thank you, Richard. Hi, everybody. I'm Stu. As Richard mentioned, we've actually all got a very long motorsport history. For me, recently, it's been endurance racing, but much more importantly, I've been trained by the English Land Rover instructors, and then we've travelled all around New Zealand, gone to all sorts of amazing places with this product, and really shown owners what these cars are capable of. Most owners have got no idea how brilliant these cars are. So, over the last couple of days, we re-drove the route that you're about to take, and it's a real privilege for us as New Zealanders to go to parts of the country that we could never ever get to otherwise. So you're in for a huge treat. I'm looking forward to getting to know you all very well.
Good evening, my name is Tim Martin. I'm a Land Rover lead instructor. So together with Richard, we've worked to put together the driving side of the program. A fantastic few days. As Stu said, there are many parts of this tour that most New Zealanders will never visit. So some amazing scenery, amazing vehicles. Will challenge you quite a bit, and the program will build up each day. So if you think the first day is a little gentle, don't worry, there's better things to come. But do definitely listen to Richard's briefing, because we need to keep you safe, and there's a lot of very challenging things coming at you in the next few days.
Thanks, Tim. Afternoon, everybody. My name is Tony Chambers. As Stu mentioned, various motorsport backgrounds for all of us from the south, 25 years involved in motorsport here in New Zealand and overseas, but more importantly, a long time involved with the Land Rover brand. Globally trained here in New Zealand by the UK team. Was originally involved with the launch of the all-new Discovery, which in my eyes is the most capable off-road SUV we have here in New Zealand. So thoroughly enjoy driving that vehicle. I'm a keen four-wheel driver myself, so if anyone's got a bigger smile than me by the end of the 3 days, I'll challenge you all of that. And so look forward to taking you through some fantastic tracks over the next 3 days.
Thanks, Tony. Good afternoon, team. My name's Paul Blomqvist. About 15 years of motorsport is pretty relevant for what we're going to be doing for the next 3 days. Myself, have done about 100 days with the Land Rover brand over the past 2 years, and was lucky enough to go over to England to spend 2 weeks over there at Solihull and Easthill, learning about all the new cars. So hopefully we enjoy it and have a lot of fun. We get to see beautiful parts of New Zealand that myself hadn't seen until the last 2 days.
Thanks, Paul. Hi guys, I'm Jason Leifing. I'm not going to be directly involved with all of you, I'm actually going to be leading 2 cars with the camera and the film crew. So for those of you that are really trigger happy and fill up your memory sticks on the first day, we're going to capture the last couple of days for you and make that available too.
Awesome. Thank you, team. So, as I say, these guys, they want you to go out there and have a whole lot of fun while you're driving over the next few days. But the most important thing for them is to keep you all safe and keep all those cars looking just as beautiful at the end of the tour as they do now. But if they are telling you to slow down, extend gaps or anything like that, it is only to keep you guys safe. So please, please do work with them throughout your journey. Now, I'm going to briefly touch on the route plan that we have for the next few days. So, as you can see, we're starting off just out of Christchurch and finish up down in Queenstown, so nearly 1,000 kilometres for us to cover. Tomorrow, we'll start off just with the basics. We're going to head out to a place called Lake Heron Station, out across some riverbeds through there. We're going to introduce you to all the different technologies that there are, and I'll explain a few more of those later. We're going to head to Tekapo tomorrow night, where you'll be staying in Isolation Bay. The next day, a big day of off-road driving. We'll travel across the Omarama Saddle as well as Black Forest Station, so the level of tracks is starting to get slightly more difficult as they go on, and as I say, quite a big day for that second day of driving. Lastly, we'll be leaving St. Bathans, so you'll be staying in St. Bathans the night before, heading across Leaning Rock. So this is the highest part of the journey. We'll travel up to nearly 1,600 metres above sea level into the widest part of the South Island, and that is the most challenging part of the journey, which will finish up going through Arrowtown and our final evening staying in Milton. Now I've got a whole lot of very important slides. So the first part is all about safety, keeping you guys safe as we go through the tour, so please do pay attention. The last half is more about the technologies of the vehicle, so if anybody's feeling a bit jet lagged, that's your chance to fall asleep during the end. First of all, really important before we go, if you do have any medical conditions, bad backs, anything like that, please do let us know, and if you have medication with you, please do carry that at all times. Sounds simple, but whenever you get in the car, always please put your seatbelt on, and when you jump out of the vehicles, always, even if we're on a flat piece of land, we double park the car. So that means into park and also park brake on as well. So that's just an extra preventative measure for the car from rolling away. And as I say, when you're getting in and out of the cars, most of the time, luckily for us, they'll be an off-road hike, so they can be quite tricky to get in and out of. And one of the most serious risks that we will face over the next few days is actually just rolling your ankle or falling over on uneven ground. So please just take care. I know we're all going to be very excited, but just take it nice and easy as you go through. As I've already mentioned, please listen to your instructors. They're there to look out for you. If you have any medical issues, please go to your instructor first, or as Sonia's mentioned, we've got a doctor throughout the tour. The last point here, obviously we're a very big tour. We're going to raise quite a lot of attention as we travel through the South Island. A lot of small towns, and news travels very quickly. So please do take care and pay respect to everybody else on the road. The last thing we want to do is annoy the locals, because they're allowing us to go through their backyard, and also things like parking over driveways. We'll try our best to avoid throughout the tour. So just a couple of things about driving in New Zealand. It's very different to anywhere else in the world. It's take a lot longer to travel. Obviously, we're staying on the left side of the road in New Zealand, so anybody who's familiar with driving on the left-hand side will take a little bit of time to get used to driving on the right-hand side of the vehicle. One of the most important things today and for the next few days is that your breath alcohol level is 0. So please do enjoy some of New Zealand's fine wines, but don't overindulge. We do have a breathalyzer in case you're worried about it. We're much nicer than the police, so please feel that you can approach us if you do want to use that. And if anybody is suspected of being a little bit dusty, then we'll have a breathalyzer for you as well. Hopefully we won't have too much wet weather. Maybe through the off-road section we'll make it a little bit more exciting, but please do take time and take care as we're driving in wet weather, and of course on loose gravel as well. There's some sections of gravel where we'll be travelling nearly 100 kilometres an hour, and obviously the grip level's much lower while we're driving through there. Obviously all New Zealand road rules do apply, and some of those are slightly different. I'll talk about that a little bit later on, but we have no diplomatic immunity, so please do take care out on the roads. I'm sure the instructors won't be paying any fines that you do get. Obviously, we're staying in a different place every evening, so please be responsible for your luggage when you depart any venue or any location that we're staying. So it's as simple as just checking in the boot. Never assume that your luggage has been moved, and don't leave it in the hotel room unless you've been instructed to do so. I'm sure the events team will make sure all of the communication of where your luggage should be kept is clear throughout. But always double check, as I say, before we go. The last thing we want to do is find ourselves 500 kilometres down the road with no luggage. In the first instance, if you do get lost or if there isn't a problem, please just talk with your instructor. But in a serious emergency, and if you end up by yourself, the emergency phone number in New Zealand is 111, so feel free to call those. Each of the tour leaders, so each of the instructors' vehicles, will have a number of safety items inside. So they'll have a first aid kit as well as a fire extinguisher and safety vest. And they're also carrying an EPIRB, so an emergency positioning beacon. In the case that we do get stuck, we do have one of those as well. And I'll be carrying a sat phone as well as a defibrillator. As I mentioned, we've also got the breath tester, so again, feel free to talk to us about that. One really important thing as well while we're driving in New Zealand, we want to keep this place as clean and green and beautiful as it is now. So the old saying, leave only tracks and take only memories, is something that we're going to adopt for the next few days. Each of the lead vehicles will carry a canister for you to put some rubbish into as well. They'll carry some water, and everybody should be issued with a drink bottle as well. So please take your drink bottle with you. We want to waste as little plastic as possible throughout the tour, so you'll be able to refill. And please keep hydrated. It's very, very hot and dry out where we're travelling over the next little while. A number of New Zealand road rules that you may or may not be familiar with. So 50 kilometres an hour is roughly the typical common city speed or town speed. We go through a number of different towns, and then 100 kilometres an hour is the maximum speed on any of the roads that we travel on. Some in the North Island are 110, but here is only 100. And the police will typically allow for around 5 kilometres an hour above that. But as we're obviously a very big tour, I would say they'll be pretty strict on us, so let's not try and push that boundary. A few of you may be from countries where it's accepted to pay off police or bribe police. Please do not try to do this in New Zealand because that won't end very well. I'll leave it there. And also 40 kilometres an hour over any posted speed limit is an instant loss of licence, so please be aware of that too. If you do cross the centre line to try and shortcut a corner as well, that's a ticketable offence, and any solid yellow lines indicate that you cannot pass as well, so please don't overtake any of those. And I know it's a simple thing, but please don't use your mobile phone while you're driving. And if you are crossing some amazing scenery, please keep your eyes on the road or on the track. It's really important that we keep these cars on the roads. Very briefly, I'll run through some of the giveaway rules. Most of the time, you'll be following your lead instructor, so it won't be so much of an issue. Typically, you're giving way to your right, and you're always giving way to any vehicles that are coming straight. If you are turning as well, give way to vehicles turning left. If you're turning right, in the roundabouts, we turn left around the roundabouts here, driving on the left side of the road, and again, you always give way to the right-hand side. Generally, if you're coming off the main road and the other car is coming straight, then you give way to them. If you're at a stop sign, it doesn't matter any of the other rules, you have the least priority over any car, so you must wait for them. Now, the convoys that we have set up for you today, the instructing team is busy getting those cars ready for you. We have 4 groups of cars, as you can see here. So the first car in each group will be the lead instructor. They're carrying all the safety equipment, and then they'll have 3 to 4 cars behind them, which you're all driving in. Typically, 2 people in each car, so a driver and a passenger, and you'll share the driving throughout the tour. If you start off in a Discovery, you'll finish the tour in a Range Rover. So if you start in a Range Rover, you'll finish in a Discovery. Halfway through the second day of driving, we will all regroup and swap over directly between the vehicles, which will give everybody an equal chance to drive both of those 2 cars and enjoy them out on the roads. And as you can see there, the final car will have myself. The tech will be in one of the last cars, either my car or the final lead car, and of course the doctor as well, so please feel free to approach us about that. Each of the cars out on the tour is going to have a 2-way radio sitting inside the car so that the instructor can talk to you throughout and keep constant communication. The way the radios work, it's line of sight around 10 kilometres, but as soon as you put a hill or a mountain in between, it's very hard to get the signal. So if you can't hear your instructor, check first that it hasn't been turned off, or bump the channel, but when you do stop, get your instructor's attention and they can make sure that they do fix that for you. If you have any issues or you need to talk to your instructor, got any funny jokes to tell, there's quite a bit of driving to do over the next few days, push and hold the button on the side and talk into that, and it's single-way communication between those. Throughout the tour, you're going to have the same lead instructor. He'll be with you throughout the tour. You'll just change vehicles, as I say, at that halfway point. As you're driving Land Rover-owned vehicles throughout the tour, you must always stay behind your tour leader. If at any stage you end up by yourself, there's something gone fairly wrong, and we'll be looking for you, but please, as I say, work with your instructors there. As I say, we don't have diplomatic immunity. If you do get pulled over, it's not always possible for the entire group to pull over. They may have to continue to a point where it is safe to do so. So first of all, try and avoid it, but if it does happen, then you'll need to regroup with your instructor. Typically, they'll stay on the same road and just find somewhere that's safe and that they can see you approaching. So we have in each of the vehicles a printed route book here, so I've got one for you to read through. It also has a written driver's briefing, so everything I'm going through here is the first 50 or 60 pages of this, and then we have each day. So the days are broken up into segments, off-road or on-road, and each of those gives you a little bit of a description about what you'll be doing, where we start, where we finish, and as well a very clear description of each of the directions as you go. So if you ever deviate off the main road, if you're going into tracks, off tracks, any cautions, single lane bridges or tough, tricky off-road terrain is all described in here, and you can follow it on the odometer on your vehicle, so they'll be zeroed at the start of each of those leads. The easiest thing to do is just to follow the lead instructor, and I'll talk to you and make you aware of any of the notes that are in here. But as I say, if you do get lost, you can follow these notes and it will keep you on our track. Any slight changes or deviations from what is inside these books, the instructors will talk to you each morning. They'll give you a little bit of a briefing and let you know what it is that's changed. If any weather event has come through or the kilometres have changed, for example, one day we're deviating slightly from the planned route and we're going to go through a small town, so they'll let you know about that before they get out. We have a Land Rover technician with us throughout the tour as well, so if we have any issues, which I'm sure there won't be, just let your instructor know and they can sort that out as well. You don't need to worry about refueling throughout the tour. All of this will be handled by the instructing teams. Now, just touch on some safe off-roading, safe off-road driving. While we're driving on these gravel roads, we limit our speed. It's much more typical on gravel roads to have big harsh bumps and things like that. And as well, as we're driving, we create a lot of dust from each of the vehicles. So you'll have to extend your following distance to the vehicle in front when you get onto a gravel road, and always make sure that you can see the car in front. If there's a lot of dust and you're too close, that car stops. You may not have enough time to react. So keep those gaps. Make sure you can see the car in front. And work together. So if you see the car in front is turning off and they're indicating, put your indicator on so that the car behind you can see nice and early. And then as you turn in, or before you turn in, make sure the car behind has their indicator on as well, so they know, you know that they know we're turning left, and then when you turn in as well, make sure the car behind does follow through. If they don't, get on the radio and let your instructor know so that they can help you out. There's a number of really narrow and tight tracks. We've just gone through a final run through over the past few days, and there's a number of places where we had to stop and get out some secateurs and loppers to push back. We don't want to be scratching the side of any of these cars, so please take care as you go through. All the gates will be handled by your instructor and by some of the event crew. So if in doubt at any point, if you're feeling uncomfortable or you're not sure if you should progress or continue, just stop, and either the instructor will see that you've stopped or get on the radio and let them know so that they can come back and help you. So if in doubt at any stage, please, as I say, just stop. Now, if you don't listen to anything that I say today, please listen to this one slide. So, New Zealand at the moment is in a massive extreme fire risk. There's currently a fire burning at the northern part of the South Island. This fire cannot be stopped. It will be burning until around March and is currently costing $1 million a day to fight this fire. So we have one very clear rule, and your first and second warnings are right now. There is no smoking at all while we're driving off-road. We will have designated spaces throughout the journey where you can stop. The risk of a cigarette dropping into the grass covers at the moment is incredibly high. We want to try and avoid this, obviously, throughout the tour. And as well, because the vehicles are going to be getting quite warm, brakes are hot and the engines are quite hot, we'll try our best to avoid parking in long grass. If we do have to park in long grass, keep the car in off-road height, and in that case your instructor will always stay with the vehicles to ensure that there's no scrub fires. On that note, all of the instructors will be also carrying 2 fire extinguishers, one 2.5 kilo powder extinguisher and a very big 9 kilo foam extinguisher in case this does happen. It is one of the most serious things that we do talk about. It's the biggest risk that we have. The result of this obviously would be a huge financial implication, but also there is risk of death. So take it very seriously. If anybody is seen smoking outside of any designated areas, unfortunately we will have to take your bags and get you back to Christchurch because that will be the tour finish. It's not something we want to do, but it is a very, very serious safety concern. To the point that a number of the venues actually were talking to us about cancelling the journey, which is not what we wanted to do. So please respect us on that one. Now, that's all the serious stuff done. We're just going to quickly run through a few of the technologies that we'll be using and some of the things that will be keeping us nice and safe while we're driving off-road for the next few days. So, first of all, I know you probably all know about this, but just touching on why we need differentials. Obviously, when you turn a corner, the outside and the inside wheels cover a different amount of distance. So if those differentials are locked, the car wants to go straight ahead. The outside wheel and the inside wheel need to travel a different distance. Differential allows that to slip, and then when you require a lock differential, it changes, and that's the unique thing about Land Rover and the technology we have. So obviously you can see here, 4 wheels have traction, the car continues to move forward. The instance where one wheel starts to lose traction and starts slipping, this is when this centre diff, so all the vehicles that you drive will have an electronic centre locking differential. That ensures that the rear wheels are travelling the same speed as the front wheels, and then you continue to move forward. Same thing here with the rear wheel, that slip is engaging the electronic centre diff, ensuring the front wheels are travelling at the same speed as the rear wheel. The tricky situation, and this is where most other brands will come unstuck, is when 3 wheels have no grip or are off the ground and only 1 wheel has traction. So in this instance, the centre differential has locked, but now the inside rear wheel, the left rear wheel there, is slipping as well. So this is when electronic traction control kicks in. So that will apply the brakes on each of the wheels that are spinning and ensure that the front and rear wheels travel at the same speed across the axles as well as between the front and rear, and then continue forward with the car. Now, just a few other off-road technologies that we have at our disposal. This next one is very, very important. You'll be using this a lot throughout the trip. Hill descent control individually brakes each of the wheels, and you can set the speed of the car through the set plus and set minus button, which is on the steering wheel. So just like cruise control for going down hills. And some of the, as I said, we've got 1,500 metres to descend, and that's a long way for the car to be braking. So we also, whilst we're going down, we select the lowest appropriate gear, and that engages engine braking to help us descend and not to cook any brakes. Also, we have traction control, works with stability control, as I mentioned before, it's using the brakes to keep the wheels spinning at the same speed, front and rear, and left to right as well. One fantastic thing with all these vehicles, and something that we've really enjoyed over the last couple of days, trying to cover 3 days of driving in about a day and a half, is the air suspension. So it makes the ride very smooth, but also gives us a whole lot more capability and composure when driving off-road. So obviously we can raise the car up to clear obstacles. Your approach angle as well as your breakover angle and departure angle are improved. But also, if you're crossing a side slope, if you have to get past an obstacle on an angle, you can lower the air suspension, and that creates a lower centre of gravity, which keeps you safer as well. Again, your vehicles that you drive will all have terrain response. So I'm sure you're all familiar with the different modes, and the instructors will take you through all of those different modes, how it changes the way that the car responds, how it engages the throttle response, the differential, the ABS, the traction control, all those different things that change when the modes of the car change. And as well, we also have terrain response too. So this takes away all the guessing work, and you just push the auto button and the car will respond to how the conditions are that you're driving through to ensure that you keep in control at all times. We also have high and low range gearbox in all of the vehicles that you drive. Pretty simply, it gives you more control at lower speeds. So think of it as third gear being first gear. So you've given yourself a whole lot more control, as I say, while driving at a slow speed. Last part of the slide, sorry to bore you all with this, off-road driving techniques, a number of different scenarios that you'll be crossing as we go through. So first of all, climbing hills, we always climb in a straight line and follow the fall line. So if you climb at an angle, you're exposing yourself to risk of falling down because the engine is the heaviest part of the car. By driving straight up the hill, you minimise that risk. And always climb the hill in the highest practical gear so not to load up the engine for long periods of time. Descending hills, we're using hill descent control for all of these. Same thing, follow the fall line as you go down to keep the car travelling straight, and the opposite, we use the lowest possible gear to, as I say, use that engine braking coming down. A number of ruts and ditches that we'll go through, some of them a little bit drier than that one that you can see. Really important that you check where your steering position is. It's very easy driving through a rut to turn the wheel through 180 degrees and feel like you're driving straight again, but the wheels are pointed off to the left or to the right. That's where you're exposed to danger of popping out of the rut and flying off to the left or to the right. So please do be aware of that, and that can also damage the sidewall of all the vehicles. If you have to cross a ditch, never cross at a 90-degree angle, always cross at a light angle, because that means only one wheel is dropping into the ditch at a time. Side slopes, we've got a few of these along the journey. This is where you're exposed to quite a high risk of the car tipping over. I've already mentioned the beautiful thing about air suspension is that we can lower that down, and that brings the centre of gravity down and keeps you all safer while you drive. One very important thing to think about before you do cross over any side slopes is think about what's on the top of the car. So a number of the vehicles have a roof basket with some equipment, tyres and things like that. So that changes your centre of mass. And if you cross the side slope without it, always think before you approach it with a load on the roof what that means. Crossing water, everybody loves doing this, and there's a number of water crossings that we get to enjoy throughout the tour. Much clearer water than you can see here. Again, another high risk factor. Enormous wading depth capability of all the vehicles. Typically, you would always check a water crossing before crossing through it, but because we've gone through this a number of times in our recce's, we know that they're nice and safe, so we'll just head straight through most of those. And any rivers, we use a walking pace as the limit of speed for going through those. Last one, almost done. A few of the areas that we go through, the instructors will need to guide you by hand. So really, really simple. When you look at the instructor here, pointing one way or the other way is the direction they want you to turn. And typically we don't want you to go all the way to full lock. So just small wheel movements. If you need to go further, they'll keep pointing that way. So don't rush the steering. Pretty simple. Stop and back and forward. So really, really simple stuff. And thank you for enduring a bit of that. And that's it. I'll leave you to enjoy some fine New Zealand wine. Thanks, Josh.
Like I said multiple times, amazing journey plan for you. Definitely a lot of opportunities for you to take pictures and videos. So if you guys would like to share with your friends and family back home, please feel free to use the hashtags #NZ and Land Rover Experience. So if you take a look at your vehicles, the hashtags are all on the vehicles. You won't be able to miss them. That way, we can make more people around the world jealous of what we are going through with the films. Right, so dinner awaits, and I wish you a fun experience over the next couple of days, and enjoy the dinner today. Thank you.
So
着明天要出去的车。今天来接我们的是新款的 Range Rover Sport， 所以可能 Discover 也是很新的款式吧。它的 Range Rover Sport 是用那个鸡腿排挡杆和Velour 方向盘的版本啊。